Can you feel it in the air? It's that time of year again, baby. New Asymm time. I always love it when a new Asymm is coming out. The one on the menu for this year is called Fear the Reaper, a game I wasn't initially excited for until I started looking into it a little bit more, and I hope that's what this video does for you all, to educate you gamers with as much information that I could find. The biggest one for me is, can you select your role? This sole factor can make or break an Asymm for me. The different roles in Asymm games often play dramatically different, making them very different gameplay experiences. You essentially get two games in one package, and I often gravitate towards one role more than the other. So when I want to play that one specific game, I want to play that one specific game. I remember a while ago, I saw a tweet saying that you couldn't select your role. I don't know if this tweet was a fever dream or someone lying. I couldn't find it, so it was most likely me just scanning through fast and just misinterpreting whatever was said. But yes, in this game, you can select your role. That's the first big thing I heard that made me go, great, I can actually get excited for this game now. Let's go ahead and get into a lot of the other things I found through the Reaper Discord and through more gameplay clips shown, which we'll dive into the gameplay clips later. So through the words of the dev Mac, it will be playable on Steam Deck. It won't be coming to consoles initially. He does say there's always a chance in the future. The game will have a heavy horror focus. This is something that seems to be emphasized a lot. It seems the horror aspect of the experience is a high priority for the dev, making the game as slasher-like as possible. We'll see more on that later, but this might be the most slasher-esque playing game we've seen so far. There are 8 different survivor, or what the game refers to them as, residence classes that will be randomly assigned at the beginning of the match. The most important of these roles is the final girl role. As the final girl is alive, every survivor, or resident, gets more in-game currency. She'll know exactly where the police are when they spawn in. She makes killing the Reaper easier. We'll get into the Reaper killing in a bit. Don't worry. She'll always survive her first Reaper grab. This sounds a bit like Tommy in Friday the 13th. If he was grabbed by Jason, he could use a pocket knife to stab him. If she starts a chase, everyone will know. In the end game, she will become exposed, meaning the Reaper can instantly kill her. There's a lot of responsibility put on the final girl, and because of this, if players don't want that responsibility, they can opt out of being the final girl. The only other role I could see discussed was the protector role. This role starts with a shotgun and additional ammo. Alright, let's talk about killing the Reaper. It hasn't been said exactly how it's done. Similar to Friday the 13th before it was released, there's an air of mystery to it all. Mac has described killing the Reaper as very difficult. We know that having the final girl makes it easier. How much easier? No idea. Mac has said that if killing the Reaper ends up becoming too easy, he will up the difficulty in killing him. It is desired from him that killing the Reaper remains a difficult challenge. I have a bit more to say on this topic later when we go over the video footage. There are several ways to attract the Reaper's attention. The way it's described makes it seem as if there are several levels of risk depending on the distraction that is chosen. There will be more than one beta for the game. If I can get my hands on it, I will definitely cover it, so subscribe to not miss that. There will be several executions to choose from before the match starts, as well as customization for both the Reaper and Residents. There will be lore for the Residents and the Reaper. There's only one developer working on the game primarily, but he does have some help. There is no stamina system, similar to Dead by Daylight. The Reaper can hear proximity chat, however, he himself cannot chat. There is no third-person mode. It's stealth-focused on both sides, which is pretty interesting. We'll have to see if it stays that way, but I believe this is the first Asymm where both sides want to play in very sneaky ways. Usually, it's one or the other side that ends up playing more stealth. Texas Chainsaw was also a game that was heavily marketed towards stealth, but the stealth aspects of the game is a bit more muddy as the rush meta developed more and more. The game is a 1v7, but depending on how many people are playing, the power level of the killer will change. So if you only have 4 people playing, the Reaper's power will change in response to that. The closest I can think to a game doing this is Dead by Daylight. Back in the day, if there was a DC, the match would still start. They just take a generator off of the amount needed. I believe it's still done for custom games nowadays. I think this is a pretty cool feature. It'll make playing with friends more fun. Since you won't need to gather a full set of 8 people every time, you could have like 5 people and still have a grand time. 2 of the ways to escape are a bus. Think end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the movie. That's the vibes I'm getting from it. There's also a police escape. There will also be updates to the game with more Reapers with different stats. These additional Reapers will be free. And lastly, instead of hooking people, the Reaper grabs people. I'm assuming it's similar to Jason in Friday the 13th from the look that we actually see from gameplay, but instead of getting instantly killed, the residents will play a little minigame for the first 2 grabs, and then the next time he picks them up, they die, which we see from Sammy in the Discord. I trust Sammy. They seem to be in the Discord a lot more than I am. This sounds pretty cool for the game. It sounds like it'll keep the pace moving for both roles. Since an issue with DBD is the big old slugging thing, it's not very fun for the survivor to just opt out of playing, whether it's on the ground or being hooked. It sounds like the Reaper picks you up, they get off, and they both continue to play the game. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the video clips. I'll play them first with no commentary, and then I'll break down what we can learn about the game from the individual clips. So, from this first clip, we can learn that the killer has maneuverability options, which is great. I wouldn't want to slowly walk everywhere for the whole match. The killer also seems to get rewarded for stalking residents. I'm not entirely sure if this is the case. I don't know if he's building power by looking at the resident here, or if he just notices, she's next to the closet and teleports to it. We see in the bottom left corner that there is a appear and not appear option, so the Reaper can cloak themselves so that the residents can't see him. I'm assuming completely. I don't know if they get any noise prompts or anything like that. I'm unsure, but he can kind of cloak himself up. We also see the final girl escape his grasp. I think this is the final girl. He gets stunned, which my biggest concern for the game, kind of going off of the killing the Reaper thing, is how often are we going to get stunned as the Reaper? I still wake up in cold sweats because of the day 1 Texas Chainsaw Massacre experience, with Leland's charging me with bone shards in hand and keeping me stunned for 30 seconds before being allowed to play the game. Hopefully there's not a drastic amount of stuns. We also see a tracking ability for the Reaper, and as mentioned before, this game seems extremely slasher coded. Like, it just plays out very similar to what you would see in a slasher chase, running into the house, boarding everything up, he pops out of the closet. It feels very Halloween-y with all the stalking in suburban neighborhood environment. The bashing down doors reminds me of Friday the 13th, and also the Reaper appears to get a rage mode just like Jason in Friday the 13th, allowing him to immediately break down doors. He also instantly gains access to this Jason shift-like ability when he becomes enraged. And at one point, we see an arrow on the ground that seems to tell the Reaper where the resident is hiding. Or I guess I shouldn't say hiding, where they ran off to. which definitely also implies that you want to be sneakier, because you see a little run notification when the resident runs off, and after the stun, you actually can see as the Reaper where they're going. They're tracked for a little bit. From this Resident gameplay, we can see that minigames are used to unlock doors. The Reaper can open doors telepathically. We see the money system in the bottom left and some sort of fear icon in the bottom right, which we also see the Resident take some anti-anxiety pills that we mentioned earlier. Lots of different tools in the bottom left. I'm guessing these are used for escapes possibly, and a flashlight symbol, which we can see our Resident using in the footage. For the final clip, we can see a little bit of trickery is done. Our Resident opens up the door, trying to throw the Reaper off, making him think that our Resident goes out the front door, but in reality, she's in the closet. There seems to be an eye icon when the Reaper can see the character, so the Resident knows when the Reaper can actually see them. And lastly, victims can hide in closets, which, well, that's just about every Asymm ever. And I do believe that's about all there is to Fear the Reaper as of right now. It is giving off major Halloween game vibes, which of course is piquing my interest as a huge Halloween fan. I'm looking forward to it, but what about all of you? Has the game grabbed your attention, or do you need to see more? If you're interested in seeing more, feel free to subscribe to not miss out on any future news regarding the game that I will definitely be covering. Thank you very much for watching.